On 11/3/2018, a brain CT showed a 1.7 by 0.8 centimeter soft tissue fullness along the medial aspect of the right mid-cranial fossa. Now listen to this next sentence, which was after that paper you all saw, is my guess. Dr. Krieger says, brain mass was excluded with MRI. That is why that discharge paper was not shown into evidence. Welcome to Creepalachia. We're getting straight into the depths of hell. Right now, we are not waiting. This is going to be totally about debunking all of these Natalie Cochran sound bites out there. The saying, Michael would be in prison if he was alive, and all of this crazy crap that just gets me irate. Welcome, Jozy Moore.
Thanks.
Yeah, we have been we come up with some bullet points of some different things, and we're going to try and hit everything. And I think we have some questions that people may have asked. I think we had a couple questions on Facebook, but we'll get to those too. But I mean, if this is the first time you're hearing about the Natalie Cochran trial, hit the stop button. Go to the playlist, because we're not going to go into what happened. We're just going to go straight into the BS. So we do have a Natalie Cochran trial playlist. So I suggest starting there if you know nothing about this. And we're going to go ahead and get started, Jozy. So, let's start with Michael knew about the fraud. I know we got a few things we're going to bring up. Is there something certain you think we should dive into first? Or, because I know we have text messages of Michael the day before, not knowing why they were broke. There is evidence of Natalie relaying information, the same information that she did to investors, including talking about, the state police contract that was obviously fake for the guns and things like that. But where do we start? And we've got the documents all laid out here, so bear with us. We're going to make sure we're very thorough with this, so buckle in.
Honestly, I think before you really can debate whether or not Michael was involved, I think you really need to understand the depths of how Natalie was involved and, coordinated the Ponzi scheme. And so, obviously, like, the Ponzi scheme that Natalie concocted started 2017 to 2019. Concocted.
I don't know if that's a thing.
And so she stole over $2.5 million from her friends and families, saying that they were investing in government contracts, which obviously did not exist, and just fed more into her lies. And I think, obviously she did not testify, but we know that she pled guilty to those charges. And I think that when she pled guilty, there's this thing called the stipulation of facts that is part of I guess it's like part of the plea agreement, essentially. When someone pleads guilty to a crime, you agree that, yep, you committed the crimes and here's how you did it.
Right.
So the evidence that was presented at trial when Natalie was tried for the murder of her husband, which she was found guilty of, one of the first things they admitted into evidence was her plea for the Ponzi scheme.
Right.
And I had never read this before, but I found it really interesting. So the stipulation of facts is written in first person. So I'm assuming she didn't necessarily write this. She probably had her attorney help her write this. But it's like she is admitting to the Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, it's not over a freaking car frame.
And nowhere in there does it say, me and my husband did this. We, as the owners of a business, stole money from our friends and family. There it is. And so I think you just have to read parts of it. Like, it talks about the background. So from at least June 17th until approximately August 22nd of 2019, for reference, Michael died in February of 2019. So, he wasn't around for the 2019 bits. But it says, I resided in Daniels, Raleigh County, West Virginia, which is known in the Southern District of West Virginia. And then she talks about, I owned and operated Technology Management Solutions and Tactical Solutions Group, LLC, TMS, Technology Management Solutions was an information technology company that provided technical and technology consulting services, and TSG, Tactical Solutions, was a wholesale merchant and provider of durable goods. And so it says, while both companies were registered with the federal government for contracts, I know that neither TSG nor TMS ever obtained a federal contract. I offered various investment opportunities in or through TMS and TSG to my family, friends, and other members of the community. So she admits, yes, they were registered correctly, but they never had a single government contract.
Yep. And Michael, even thinking of he had one, is total BS. And also, if Michael knows these doesn't exist, why is he curating contracts for her constantly? That's the only involvement he essentially had, was he would send her contracts to write for.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, if you are faking a business, like, you don't need to put that much effort into finding contracts if you never intend to bid on them. I mean, you know, all it takes is a copy and paste. Cool, this is a contract that exists. We're going to tell them we're going for it. You know, I mean, we saw that in the documents that Chris Davis showed us, that, like, you know, she had legitimate contracts, but the numbers were off. You know, Natalie showed her investors actual things that existed, actual contracts that could have been available, that they could have bid on, but they weren't. They never did. Yeah,
she would just change the contract numbers ever so slightly.
Right.
So they couldn't find. So she was pulling real contracts, but changing the contract numbers, because after they're awarded, that information is public too, who they're awarded to.
Yeah.
So she knew if they found them later,
it would all be up.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, it says later on, and she says that the section that says the scheme to defraud. You know, I knowingly made false I, as Natalie, this is, you know, she is agreeing to this. She is saying that she did this. She made false representations about my company and my qualifications as experienced government contractors. I fraudulently induced numerous people to invest in technology management and tactical solutions in a phony government contracts that I claimed had been awarded to me. I made these false representations about the financial state of my company and stated that TSG and TMS and myself were experienced government contractors, even though I knew that neither were ever awarded any federal government contracts, and neither company ever fulfilled or received any payment under any state or federal government contracts.
Yeah, and if you're sitting there saying, well, of course she didn't mean it. Well, I tell you what, that don't matter, because this is a federal statement for her taking a plea agreement on a criminal charge that she accepted because they had evidence for it. If they didn't have evidence for it, she wouldn't have accepted it.
And I think what I found interesting about this is that, so when she was sentenced, she gets to, during the sentencing, when all of her peers could speak, right? When the Davises could speak, the Hamiltons, all of her victims were able to give statements. She spoke at the very end because she's allowed to speak during her sentencing, and she had a prepared statement. And her statement is nothing like this. She was like, yeah, I did this Ponzi scheme, but she immediately blames Michael. Michael really pressured me. She alluded that, like, he was abusive, or he, you know, all of these things. But when it comes to the statement of facts, as it says, none of that is included, right? It just blatantly lays it out like, yep, I fraudulently offered up contracts that didn't exist. I took thousands, adding up to over 2.5 million from my friends and family. So, I mean, I think this is pretty telling. And again, when we talked to the jurors and they said, like, the evidence made it clear that Natalie did the Ponzi scheme by herself, and it was clear that she murdered her husband. Like, this is what they're talking about. This is what the jurors were able to physically see in their hands and read. It wasn't read verbatim at trial. It wasn't really discussed thoroughly at trial, because obviously we had a lot of interjections. But this is what the jurors saw and they read and how they were able to connect all the dots.
Yeah, and the federal prosecution, like she could say whatever she wants. There's no objections.
No.
So they could just get up there and
Right.
you know, and which, you know, would have made things a lot easier for the state drop, but that's not how that works. But yeah. So anyway, you got that, and then you got text messages of the day before where Michael is arguing with Natalie over not being able to pay a utility bill, and they were actually at the house ready to cut the utility bill off, and he was so shocked on why they were broke.
Yeah. So if you go, let's see.
And we have those two.
I think they're in 38. I uploaded Ashley Akerd's PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And she has some of the messages and they're a lot easier to read.
Yeah, these scans are kind of hot garbage. I mean,
hey, this is how they looked in trial.
Yeah, that's how they looked in trial. Yeah. Let's see what I got. So that was towards the end of the list because it was literally on February 5th.
Yeah, what's the date?
There's the 4th.
Okay.
Okay, so this is Natalie saying, I already spoke to DFAS. They are going to start paying contracts with furthest back plus 75% today. This is from Natalie to Michael. Okay. Now, answer me why she would send this text if she knew that Michael knew there was no government contracts.
You also missed your favorite part.
Oh, which part?
Betsy.
Oh, yeah. She mentions Betsy.
It's in that same message.
Oh,
Look,
gotcha.
says,
Oh, yeah.
Betsy
Sorry.
Authorized. They are cutting it this Friday.
Yeah, it says
between
75% today. We should see payments start populating on Wednesday. We will also be receiving a paper check for the boats, homes, etc. Fines that Betsy authorized. They are cutting it this Friday.
Like, why would they talk about a fake person?
Yeah, why would she bring up Betsy Britland if she knew, like, Michael knows
Betsy's not real?
Yeah. So, all right, check. Let me bring up the utility bill just to pile on a little bit here. And this is what needs to happen. If someone makes an accusation, they show you documents right after they make the accusation. That's how things should work. Not getting on television and saying, I firmly believe if Michael was alive, he would be in prison. That's not what we do. We show things like this that show Mike telling Natalie the day before he was poisoned and murdered by Natalie Cochran. He says the sewer company is here and it's a typo, but the have delinquent bill. They're cutting the main water off. They close by 4. He follows that up with, this is effing ridiculous. Why is it ridiculous? Because he's learning that they are broke. Mm-hmm. And this is part of the reason why he scheduled that meeting with the Bank of America.
Right. Well,
in my opinion.
I think if you go, so like the day before that too, she is telling him that they're supposed to be getting money from Bank of America. And it's the text where it's like, I don't understand. It's BOA to BOA.
Oh, yep. That's the one.
And so again, like if you're expecting, and I think it was honestly millions at this point, they're expecting millions. No, that's one.
Didn't they text Chris or something and say like $1 billion or something?
Yeah.
It was some kind of humongous
You're in 130.
number. Okay, let's see.
But I mean, like, again,
it says not till we get 1.6 million from Mike.
January 30th, 2019.
Yeah, let's see.
So go back down. You need to verify.
Okay.
You did.
Oh yeah, here it is. Man, I can't read that. Something with B. Something with
it
BOA.
Said, it's messed up in the.
Okay, so they're talking about Bank of America here, and he says, "Are we 1,000%?" She says something before that.
I'm on the phone with Bank of America.
Yeah,
That's
she
what
said,
that is.
"I'm on the phone with Bank of America." He said, "Are we 1,000%?"
Yeah, and that's January 31st.
She follows up with, "Yes, she is sending them with tracking." Mike says, "But how do we wire? Still have to go to the bank. Need password to set up online."
So he's not even involved in any of the banking.
No.
He doesn't even know how to get in, like, you know.
Yeah.
This is her side of the business. It shows, I mean, it goes back to when we had Bledsoe and Heinzman on the stand, and even, you know, we had Tim here. It goes back to them saying again and again, like, the text messages prove. And we have like 12 pages, right?
This text message. So this is very apparent to me. It says, she just told him that he's getting 1.6 million wired.
Mm-hmm.
She's on the phone with the bank. He's saying, still have to go to the bank. You know why? Because he's heard this time and time again, and he's wanting to see for himself what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, need password to set up online.
Mm-hmm.
What does that tell you, Jozy? It tells me he doesn't have account access.
Yeah.
Because if he did, he would know things have officially hit the fan.
And then, so this is a couple of days later. If you scroll down, it is funny though. It's like, she's like, "Do we need sliced cheese?"
Oh,
it is a couple of days later, but it's just funny that he's like, "Where's the money?" And she's like, "Let's get ham and cheese," you know.
Yeah, it says, and you know, of course, rest in peace, Michael. We love you, but it says we need sliced cheese for his sandwiches. And then he says money isn't there. He's like, okay.
So it's like, you know, it's a very, you can tell, like.
Which, I mean, there's a day in between those, though. He just didn't even respond to the slice. Yeah. So,
or they didn't have it in there. But it's just, you know, it's the contrast of him being like, "Where's our money?"
Yeah.
And, you know, she's delaying, or she's, you know, obviously they're living together. So we don't know, like, are they where they are physically. So if they have, like, in between their texting, they're having like personal conversations, but it's just funny.
Sure.
I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. It's hard to tell. It's like that movie Goodfellas. You've seen it, where he's like, business bad, F you, pay me. Oh, you had a fire? F you, pay me. Place got hit by lightning, huh? F you, pay me. Like, hey, Mike was turned into like, I don't care what you're saying right now. I want to know where this money is.
Mm-hmm. And then I think too, it goes back to like every time like he's asking her questions, she's saying, "I'm speaking with Bank of America." And then if you go back down, she's like, "I'm speaking with DFAS," which I think is like the Defense Finance something. It's like federal, but
let me try to think of the acronym. Dog fart ass sandwich. That's what it probably. I mean, I'll have to beep that, but I mean, it's hard to tell with these acronyms where they even came from.
It's the Defense Finance Accounting Services.
Oh, so
it actually, no, because I remember Heinzman actually, like, he talked about these messages and he said it, because I was like, I need you to. I'm one of those people that, like, if you tell me an acronym, I would like, what does it stand for? Like, don't give me acronyms. Like, I need to know.
Right.
But that it is an actual thing.
Okay. Well, good for her. She Googled it.
Yeah.
Way to go.
But again, like, he's asking, she's saying like, "Oh yeah, like everything's in the works."
Yeah, he said good deal after the Betsy text. Betsy seems to be the closer. It's like, oh, well, if there's Betsy.
Yeah. But again, it's him saying like, "What is going on? I don't understand. I don't know where the money is." Like, if they were in it together, he would know where the money is. It doesn't exist. The money is all coming from your friends and families. It's coming from the people in your community that you're frauding. Like, none of these messages would exist.
Yep.
Really.
Yep.
I mean, unless, I think I've said this before, like, you have to really dig into a conspiracy to explain these messages. Because, like, the most reasonable explanation is that he doesn't know, and he's asking his wife, "What is going on? We have all these contracts." You know, I mean, I think he even showed it in Dateline. He had like, I mean, it's like it's like a mile long, like, of all of the contracts they said they had, you know, millions and millions of dollars. And so it doesn't make sense that their utilities are getting shut off, that their bank account isn't showing all the money. It does not make sense. And so if he's in on this, it does make sense. He knows exactly everything. So
then why all the, what are they doing here? Try to, the only thing, let's dive into QAnon land, which seems to be what goes on here. Okay. They're doing this to blame it all on Natalie and to push the guilt away from Mike on purpose. So later on during the investigation, they'll pull the text messages. Like, there's no reason to do this other than him not knowing.
Well, something that I think it's been said before, but like Michael dying, being murdered, it would have been the perfect alibi for Natalie to pin everything on him. Oh, I don't know. She could have stopped. She could have, as soon as he died, been like, we're done. He's dead. I'm going to say it was all him and we're going to move on, right? Text messages, whatever. This would have been the time to stop. But I think, in the evidence, we see text messages to Stephanie days after Michael dies.
3 days to be exact.
And she's giving her like quotes, contract numbers, like all this stuff.
Yeah, let me bring that up. We'll show that just to add a little more.
Yeah.
To this.
I think we were like page 40.
Was it 40?
Or
yeah.
Right around.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay.
Go up for the date. So hold on, go back.
42. Yep.
February 14th. So Michael died February 11th.
3 days before. And you want to see what Natalie says
Was
3
it February
days?
11th or 12th? It was 11th?
Yes, it was 11th.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty positive. It wasn't 12.
I'm second guessing myself now.
No, we want to be right. But I'm pretty positive it was the 11th. So, all right. So let's walk through this text chain. So this is Natalie and Stephanie.
Yeah, it was 11th.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 14th, she says, or let's see. Okay. So this is when the text chain starts.
And before, like, Stephanie's a really good friend.
Yeah.
She is really concerned about her friend Natalie, who just lost her husband in a really like crazy, tragic, unexpected way. And you can tell, there's hundreds of pages of text messages between the two. And Stephanie repeatedly is asking, how are you doing? What can I do? Like, she's a really good friend.
Yep.
And it's so heartbreaking reading these text messages and knowing what Natalie did to Stephanie and her family. So
and she even says, want me to come by and pay your money because you have to pay and invest.
Well, also she's thinking about Natalie like, hey, like you have a big business. You just lost your partner. Let me help you in whatever way I can. Like, let me alleviate some of the burden. Like, whatever you want. Right. And I think she even says like, they go back and forth. Like, Natalie's like, oh, like I'll get you your money. And she's like, no, like I'm not worried about my money. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about like, what can I do to help you with your business to make it easier on you? So like,
yep.
That's just an important context.
No, yeah, for sure. She said, and Natalie says, let's do it tomorrow. I'm having a hard time today. So talking about moving a motorcycle or something, but we'll go on down.
And then,
so later on it says, Natalie brings up on the 14th, says, hey girl, just doing a little shopping. I don't know.
They're talking about their kid.
Yeah.
She's still really young. I wouldn't include that.
Yeah, gotcha.
But then like this is where they're talking about contracts. Is that February 14th, 3 days later? Yep.
So she brings up the contracts. It says DHHR hygiene kits 6824 return is 3,813 30 days. WV Med 4,914 return is 1,924 30 days. That's all they have posted this week. You can use your incoming or just consult or whatever.
And so like she's saying that's all they had posted. And if we believe the defense's presentation, like when they had the kids get up there and talk about Michael's involvement, Michael sourced the contracts, right? Natalie sold them to investors, to whoever, but Michael found the contracts. So if Michael is so involved in the Ponzi scheme that that's his role, and then he dies and she's taking over and there's no hiccup. Because if you look at, so there are previous text messages in January to Stephanie. I think it's in a different file, but it's the same format. She's giving the same format to Stephanie that she previously gave when Michael was alive. So like that would make you believe that like there's no change in what's going on in the way that her business is operating.
So
if Michael is involved and he's getting the contracts, then you would think, well, how is she now being the one giving contracts to people if that was his role?
Exactly.
Right. So it doesn't add up.
Yeah. And you know, just for which we'll bring this one up later, but I came across the time and date that Natalie told Stephanie she had leukemia, which was January 14th.
It was very early.
At 10:35 a.m. It says, "Hey girl, I found out Friday I have leukemia. I'll start treatments in Cleveland February 14th. Apparently they did some testing and I was unaware of when I was hospitalized. Results came back today and they called me Friday. I didn't tell Mike till this a.m. I didn't want to ruin his weekend with the kids." So anyway.
Page 15.
That's important for later. For
yeah, that one.
Okay. Let's go to page 15. We'll go back to the cancer in a minute. We got that. That's a definite bullet point.
That's a definite, yeah.
All right. So
but here's it's sometime in early, it's like later in January.
January 1st, looks like. Or
no,
is this not?
If you scroll down to the next page, it'll give you it says January 17th, so this is probably January 16th. See, no wait.
Got it.
Up. Yeah, so it says January 17th. So the one above it is probably January 16th.
Gotcha.
You go back up.
Okay.
So, but this is, again, she's giving the same kind of description of a contract. She says surgical mass, health center, 3,998 return, 5,204, 14. Like it's the same recitation that we saw in the February 14 text after Michael dies. So like, you know, if you run a business and you have like, you know, typically like you each have your own roles, right? You're not always.
Sure. I think his only role was, I think he did get addicted to seeing the money, but he didn't see the money.
Right.
But, you know, seeing all this fallacy of money, of her buying things and different things like that. Now, granted, I'm sure, you know, he wanted a helipad and there were some different plans he had for, you know, building some little league fields, but obviously he didn't know what was in the bank account because the day before the 2 days before he's poisoned, he's asking for an online login.
Yeah. Oh, I think there's definitely, I think he was on the sites that he was looking, what is it called? SAMS or something?
SAM.gov.
Yeah. He was on those sites looking for contracts and he was sending her things that he thought she was pursuing, but she obviously had her own game, you know? So I think this just shows once again that like she's the one leading this charge, you know.
Oh yeah,
it's not Michael.
I mean, it's obvious, and plus she was asking Donna for giving her contract she was giving contract information while Mike was in the ICU.
Yeah.
What kind of Satan will do that? A murdering Satan, and one that will steal your money and your whole family's money, and you know your grandkids that you hope go to college. She's going to take that money too. And then she's going to spend it probably on like, you know, a couple Vera Bradley bags or something. So anyway.
So, and then like just going back to, so what Dateline said or what in the Dateline episode when the defense, I can't talk. They were saying that like Michael's spending was proof and that, what else did they say was proof of his involvement? Oh, that his name was on the business. And that the checks, he signed some checks. Those were the things that they said proved Michael's involvement. And they showed some checks during the trial. And we obviously know that Michael was spending money because he thought he was a millionaire. But again, like I think the overwhelming evidence that the prosecution was able to present that Michael wasn't involved, that Natalie was leading this, I think you have to give the defense the opportunity to present their side, but when you stack it up against the evidence from the prosecution, it doesn't.
Yeah, I invite them to make a video and then respond to all this. Like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this evidence, and then I want to hear what is said. What are they just gonna be like? Oh no, hogwash.
It just doesn't. Yeah,
it's impossible because they're not. They'll be like, well, you kind of got a point there. Like, what are they going to say?
I mean, just for reference, like, can you see this?
Yeah.
This is what they defense submitted into evidence.
Yeah.
It's like,
and if you're listening, it's like 3/4 of an inch thick, maybe at best.
This is just Stephanie's text message.
That's just Stephanie's.
It's just, so I mean, like.
That's a good point. Stephanie's text messages alone are 3 times the evidence that the defense's entire case was.
I mean, like, no, so obviously there's more evidence that wasn't admitted. Obviously, we know there was like, a whole room full of evidence, basically. But
sure.
What they admitted, what they said, this is proof of our case. We want the jury to see this. This proves Natalie didn't murder her husband.
Yeah, they're smoking guns.
This is what they admitted.
Yeah, and it was nothing.
So, and I mean, like, it's
they did not admit that paper that was showed on Dateline, and we're going to get into that.
No, that was not. I can't find it.
Well, and they know why they didn't admit it.
So, like,
100%.
I can't find it, but like, what they admitted was the 2 reports from the medical examiners. They admitted some photos from the June 19th raid. They admitted some stuff that says like Michael was involved in the business, or that he had his name on the, Tactical Solutions. And then a couple of checks Michael signed for like $1,000 that has Tactical Solutions letterhead. So that was their crux of the evidence. There was nothing that, like, I mean, if you're going to pin your case on him being involved, you need a little bit more.
Yeah, you know what you need? You need the exact reverse of the text messages we have.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, Chris was on the stand, where are the text messages between Chris and Michael? Right? Like,
yeah. And
the ones that show that he was pushing you to, because I mean, Chris's company put in $511,000
in October, right?
I think, yeah.
And then everything started hitting the fan.
So I just, if there should have been more text messages from Michael to Stephanie, to Chris, to, John, who, like, yeah.
Yeah, there shouldn't be the antithesis.
There should have been a better paper trail.
Yeah, the antithesis of Michael being involved, which is, hey, why are we broke? Like,
right?
Why? I don't understand. And not only that, I don't have access to the bank account. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what we have.
Yeah.
So,
and so this goes back to, for the jury, as the prosecution, you're trying to prove motive. That's the first thing. Why did she kill her husband? And so when you present all this evidence, it's very plausible, more than plausible, for a jury to say, yeah, there's a motive here. Yep. And the defense doesn't want you to think that, right? The defense said over and over again, they couldn't prove what did he say? It was the who. I wrote it down.
I'll tell you what it was. It was, okay, so I say to the defense, 2 + 2 is 4. And then they're like, 2 + 2 is not 4. Like, everyone knows that 2 + 2 is not 4. Okay. Like, and then they just repeat that. It doesn't, as nonsensical as that.
It was the why. They said that the prosecution did not prove the why. And we just showed that was, the why was the Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, there's about 28 whys.
Yeah.
If you want to add them up.
So,
but yeah, so
that's that point.
That's that one. Michael did not know about the fraud. Get over it. If you love Natalie, that's great, but she's also a murderer. Next.
Where do we go now?
All right. Michael would be in prison. So I'm not going to play it because I don't want NBC to pull the video, because I kind of sent him my thoughts on the show. I never heard anything. They could care less about small potatoes, me. But them allowing the defense to get on there Now, it wasn't both of them. It was just, I think it was just the investigator. And listen, I'll start this off with all due respect, as much respect as we can give to the defense. It is a hard situation to be in. It is a job that literally built the United States of America. And if everyone wasn't entitled to, the best defense, there would be no nation. So let's get that out of the way. That being said, it's time to go away now, because there is no reason now that they're not involved with her appeal, which we did get that question. I don't know if she's officially, I'm sure she's appealed, but I haven't seen the actual documentation.
I haven't, either. But they're not doing her appeal. It's the state defender's office. They're not doing her appeal.
Yeah, it's another court appointed attorney that specializes.
Who typically does appeals with the West Virginia Supreme Court. It's not like they were taken off the case. It was given to the public office who typically handles appeals with the West Virginia Supreme Court.
Yeah. And again,
so it's very normal order of business.
I firmly believe Selden and Victor was given some direction from Natalie, and they followed it to the T. As nonsensical as I believe it all was. They did the best they could, and now they can ride off into the sunset. Like, who's the guy in the Westerns? Shoot.
You looked at me like I watch Westerns. I don't know. Sure, whoever.
Yeah. I know someone out there knows who I'm talking about. But anyways, I was going to say Roy Orbison, but that's Pretty Woman guy. But anyway, it's time to go away. But instead, they do this interview with Dateline, and the words were stated. This is kind of verbatim, but not really, but it gets the gist. I firmly believe if Michael were alive today, he would be in prison for the financial crime, is what they were implying there when they said that. So that really ran through me and caused me to, we have to do this debunking episode, because you're just spouting this stuff off to the entire nation, who a majority probably don't know about this case. The people who are listening to this episode have been involved and listened and, have watched the trial and all the things. But a typical person ain't going to be that. So they hear that, and then you start to get these comments, and I've seen them pop up of, he was involved with it. He was on steroids. He had a brain mass, all of this crap that we're going to debunk because of irresponsible journalism like this. Because you can show this, but Dateline didn't do the next step. They didn't show what we just showed you of like, actually, here's why he didn't know about the fraud. Here's the text messages the day before of them fighting. Here's her sending him text information about contracts and all of the same things she's saying to investors. So anyway, I just thought that statement was is very hurtful for especially the family of Michael. Like, I didn't know Michael, but I just put myself in their shoes of like, oh my goodness, what do you got to do around here to clear your name?
Well, I think the follow-up question to that would have been, okay, well then why wasn't Natalie charged with conspiracy? If Michael and Natalie conspired to commit a Ponzi scheme, defraud their friends and family of $2.5 million, then why wasn't one of Natalie's charges conspiracy?
Exactly.
Because, she had it was a 26 count indictment. So 1 through 11 was for wire fraud. Charge 12 was for bank fraud. Charges 13 through 16 were aggravated identity theft. Charges 17 were for wire fraud. Charges 18 through 24 were money laundering. Charges 25 was for bankruptcy fraud. And then charges 26 were false oath and bankruptcy proceedings.
You're on the Ponzi doc?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
So but they threw she had 26 charges.
Yeah. And they wouldn't have charged Michael being dead, but they would have lightened the charges on her.
I don't know if they would have lightened the charges, but like it would have been included.
Sure.
Right. And we heard from Tim, or we heard from, we heard from Tim Bledsoe. He said, like, we investigated both of them. I think it's back up some more.
Yep. Just for poops and giggles, y'all want to see what all the government seized?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's just do it. I mean, we're dropping Mad Docs here.
I think it's
Creepalachia today. So settle in. All right. So here's what was seized during the course of the investigation while Jozy looks that up.
Okay. Yeah. So this is right. This is after the charges. But yeah, here's what was seized.
Yeah. So $44,935.01 from First Community Bank account.
So not millions of dollars.
And as we all know, the Bank of America bank account wasn't a thing.
Nope.
Because the guy, what was his name that testified?
Court Nexon.
Yeah, Court Nexon said so. 1965 Shelby Cobra replica. That's when
that's the Shelby. That was.
Yeah, when you see some things like, well, this was over a car frame and Michael went across and got a car frame. That's kind of what that's referring to. But this is like, there's so much more than that. 2017 Yamaha motorcycle, a 2014 Big Tex dump trailer, 2017 Yamaha motorcycle. Should I blur the VIN numbers? I don't guess.
I mean, I don't know if they still are in.
Yeah, maybe.
They probably people might have them.
But
so this is what, if you want to like devil's advocate, right? So the defense is saying, well, she doesn't ride a motorcycle. She's not driving. These are his purchases, right? But it's like context. Okay, but yeah, if you're a millionaire, what do you care if you keep buying motorcycles?
Yeah, and it could have started with her wanting to make her man happy. I'm going to make my man happy. We're going to get him.
Wait. 2 diamond hoop earrings. There we go.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Unless Michael had, But
those could be expensive. Now, they did go to France or overseas. I don't know the exact country. They did a lot of vacations.
Paris.
They go to Hawaii.
Too,
yeah. So they done some things like that. We got a 2018 Polaris. We got a 6x14 AFG Big T trailer.
Mm-hmm.
That's got some good tires on it. We got the Yamaha Timberwolf ATV, 2017 Honda Rubicon, and 2 diamond hoop earrings, a Toyota 4Runner, a 2008 Dodge Ram, because the man got to have a Dodge, and a partridge in a pear tree with a bottle of insulin. Jesus, Lord, Mary and Joseph. Anyway, there you go.
Right.
All right. So I don't know why. I just thought that people would find that interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So like we were saying, Michael would be in prison. See Section 1 of this podcast. All of that proves Michael did not know. I don't care. Let's see some documentation. Let's see some text messages that says, "Oh, Natalie, we got him on the ropes now.
Yeah.
We got him going now."
What?
That's not there.
And I think if you really get down to it, so in her charges, they are to get justice for the victims, right? They are to say you committed these crimes against these people and you're going to pay for it. So if Michael had been involved, you would think that they would want to get justice for that as well for the victims. So they would throw in the conspiracy there because they're they did this together and they both have to pay. Even though Michael is dead, they both need to be held accountable.
Yeah, people do that all the time. But you hear about people passing away and they were involved in drugs or they were involved in, they robbed a bank or this and that or whatever. It wouldn't have. Tim and Bob, as great of people they are, do not care.
No.
About anything but the truth.
And neither did the federal prosecutors, right? I've never talked to either of them, but yeah.
I mean,
they would have, I don't see why they would have let Michael slide, even if he was dead.
Yeah.
If he stole $2.5 million from his friends and family, no, they're going to put it in there that he did it too.
And we have proof of that because of their approach and how they told us that they went to these people's houses.
Mm-hmm.
We heard Donna and Ed Bolt. Donna talked about it, but how they didn't trust them in the beginning and they didn't know what was going on. And, they approached everyone as if they didn't know their involvement, including Michael. So And we're talking decades of experience. They're not just going to say, we're not going to look into that. No, they're going to look into every angle. They're going to let the facts lead the way to the truth. And that's what happened.
And I think, we've gotten to know the Hamiltons, the Davises pretty well. I honestly think if Michael was involved, they would have said it, right? They'd have been like, yep. You know what I mean? Like, I think they would have recognized it and admitted it, and it would have been in court documents.
Well, there would have been, and that happens all the time. It'd be like, he made some bad decisions, but he was a really good guy. You know what I mean?
I think that's the conversation that we would be having right now.
Yeah.
And we're not.
No, not by anyone.
No.
Not even people that were not testifying, not necessarily on Natalie's side, but even those people aren't saying that.
Yeah.
So,
but again, like, you have to have all the information.
Yeah.
This is what the jury was presented with. This is what we have now. When you look at it, it paints a whole picture.
Oh, yeah.
If you're just piecemealing it, then you're going to come to a different conclusion.
Yeah. There's 3 things I missed in the repossession. What's it called?
The forfeiture.
The forfeiture. So 2014 Sundown Rancher trailer. We got the real property located at 219 North. I won't say address. And we got another real property located at 210 Parkwood. All right.
That you could look up.
Yeah. Yeah, you could. Yeah. I mean, whatever.
But I think.
But it says also down here, it says release, let's see, on the property, if Miss Cochran will forfeit $91,837.43, the amount of fraud proceeds which were spent on mortgage payments and improvements to the residents. It's some kind of a note on one of the properties.
Oh, I think it's really interesting. So if you go back up to like the 4th or 5th page.
Okay, got it.
Where it says like special conditions of supervision.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Is that okay? So line number.
There's the restitution amount to the cent.
She will pay $2,567,838.53. And it says, the defendant shall pay restitution during any term of incarceration through participation in the Bureau of Prisons Inmate Financial Responsibility Program in quarterly installments of $25. Do math. How many quarterly installments does it take of $25 to get to?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's about 8. I think it was like 8,333 years. So that's what I added it up to be or something.
Never.
If there's no interest. Yeah, that's essentially never. But we did see records of payments of $25 being made. So there you go. She's stamping enough license plates.
I think it's also in here somewhere where like when she initially pledged, she had to give like $200 as part of. But anyways, like that's never happening.
No, never happening.
But she'll be in jail for the rest of.
Yeah, they got enough for a steak dinner. It's like $132 or something.
Nice Olive Garden.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. That's like 3 people at Olive Garden.
Right.
If you want wine, 4 if you all drink water.
Mm-hmm. Maybe like you get the unlimited soup and salad or something.
Ooh.
And that's all you get.
That's what I'm talking about.
But, okay.
All right. All right. Sorry, y'all. All right. So I think all those are good notes. Let's move on to Michael had seizures as a bullet point. We are going to show you evidentiary proof that Michael did not have seizures. Mm-hmm. I'll just say it. Did not have seizures. Where do we want to start?
Or he had a seizure, but saying that he had a seizure disorder is a very large stretch.
Yeah. Well, where I want to start here is this tragedy of a photo that Dateline showed of one of his discharges. And this is going to be, we're going to have a light bulb moment here. We weren't just going to do this show and not show anything new. I mean, I think you've already heard some new stuff already. Mm-hmm. But this right here, so if you look, it says, Dateline shows this. This is a screenshot. Me and Jozy can't find this document. yet. This was not admitted into evidence.
We don't think so.
No.
But we do think that both sides had it. They just didn't admit it into evidence.
Yeah, and I think there's a reason why, especially now, granted, I don't know if it necessarily helped the prosecution, but the defense, they showed this document during the defense's part, which was the last 30 minutes.
On Dateline.
On Dateline.
I do not think this was shown in even, like it wasn't, I don't think it was admitted, but I don't think it was even shown in court.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And listen, Dateline's been doing this 40 some years, but this was very lazy to show this and not rebut it. And it's going to be easily rebutted right here on Creepalachia. So for the people listening, the document is essentially a discharge paper from Michael. And this is a print date that's in the bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah.
We are not exactly sure if this was the first or the second discharge. We think it may be the second.
Yeah, it was either, so he went October 31st, 2018, and then again, November 3rd, 2018. We don't know when. We think it was the November 3rd, but it was one or the other.
Yeah, and there's some very important information here. They kind of shot themselves in the foot, the defense did, in my opinion, by Dateline showing this, and we're going to show you that why in a second. But it states medical information, allergy, mold, and promethazine. So it was never proven that it was mold. It was only speculated that he had some mold exposure, which may have caused him to be in the hospital and have these seizure-like activities. So what that tells me is these are things that potentially came from Natalie on allergies that Michael has. And if you remember, they did prove that Michael had an allergy to benzodiazepines, which is Xanax, which we're going to get into.
Or lorazepam.
We got some documents there. But so that's the allergy section, and it says diagnosis: 1, brain mass; 2, which Dateline highlighted, seizure-like activity.
Yeah,
3,
we did not highlight that.
No, yeah, we didn't highlight that. Dateline highlighted it during the show as like a Perry Mason moment, but we're about to debunk the fart out of that. I'm going to say fart. I mean, that's weird. 3, confusion; 4, urinary retention; 5, chronic sinusitis; 6, prophylactic measure. I'm not going to act like I'm a doctor, okay? But let's start with brain mass, Jozy. The reason I want to do that is because I started seeing comments after Dateline released of, well, he had a brain mass. I don't understand. Like, this and that. He was on steroids and all this stuff, which we'll get into the steroids in a minute. But let's do brain mass first.
Okay, go to Krieger.
Yep.
So, Dr. Diane Krieger, she was one of the, she's an endocrinologist and has a bunch of other credentials.
Yeah, this is the right one.
Right.
Yeah.
But just a little bit of background. So, like, she was one of the expert medical witnesses that the prosecution called. Yeah, get of her.
Let me get a picture of her, and I'm going to be like, I would.
That's not.
Oh, yep, that's not her.
I don't know what year.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm Googling. I'm going to actively Google.
Maybe type in Diane Krieger.
What show is that? I know that show.
No. Arthur? No. What?
Maybe Arthur?
Yeah.
It looks like that kind of artwork. Okay. So Dr. Diane.
That's her right there.
This her right here?
That's an
older picture?
Yeah. That one, that's
this
good representation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Shout out to this wonderful doctor here. Did a lot of the Lord's work during this.
Mm-hmm. And her and Dr. Paul Uribe were expert medical witnesses out on a case in Clarksburg, Virginia, which was the same kind of death or murder by insulin.
Yep, where a nurse killed 17. I might have to look that up. I don't want to slander the murderer.
But she obviously knows she's talking about an endocrinologist. They know how stuff works in the body. I think that's...
An endocrinologist is literally diabetes expert and
go.
Thyroid.
We're not medical experts.
Yeah, obviously. We are not.
But we will quote them.
Oh, heck yeah, we'll quote them.
But anyways, so what she did was she reviewed Michael's medical records. She reviewed, it looks like the medical records from November and October of 2018, as well as his records from February 2019. And she produced a report that was cited, that she testified about, and that was put into evidence, and that I'm super happy that we have a copy of now because it says so many things that I didn't get to read during the trial.
We're about to debunk the heck out of this brain mass thing. But to clarify, the murderer only murdered seven instead of 17. And I think they worked in the VA hospital. Yeah. Which was awful, obviously. But all right, so I'm going to bring up this paragraph here.
So to preface this by saying, like, Michael's medical records are not in evidence. We're assuming that the defense and the prosecution has them, but they're not admitted into evidence. So the jury did not see them. We hear a lot about Michael's diagnoses during this time, but we don't see physical evidence. Now, she gives a very brief overview of those records from October and November of 2018. Now, I have a family member who's a doctor, and I had him look at this, and he told me, like, this is a very, very, like, broad overview. So I think that's important to note. However, there are some important things that it does pick up. So it talks about halfway down.
What do you want to just read the whole thing?
Okay,
or what do you think?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. Do you want me to read it, or you want?
Are you going to do voices?
I'll do voices. Okay. All right. So
this is a doctor talking, though.
This is a doctor talking.
Okay, like, don't get...
I'm going to take my slang out. I'm going to do my telemarketer voice.
Have fun pronouncing some of those words, too.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay.
Any medical people out there, don't hold this against me. So it says, on October 31st, 2018, Mr. Cochran was evaluated at the Charleston Area Medical Center Emergency Department for an episode of vomiting and decreased urination, which improved, and he was discharged from the emergency room on November 2nd, 2018. He returned with a description of seizure-like activity and subsequent confusion 5 minutes later. Irritability and behavioral change were noted by hospital staff. A toxic exposure to a fungus or a chemical were considered as the underlying cause of the 2 hospital visits, but this was not confirmed. What does that tell you? Natalie's like, oh, he was around that mold, honey. Natalie was like, Mike, he's been around that mold. There's something going on. All right, so sorry, I digress. ADHD.
Not confirmed.
My bad. Medical evaluation for metabolic causes of these symptoms was unrevealing and included normal random glucose levels, which I think is important too, because it shows insulin played a fact later. But I don't think insulin played a fact in this one. I think it was something else. Will we ever know? I don't know. An EEG showed rare left temporal delta slowing. On 11/3/2018, a brain CT showed a 1.7 by 0.8 centimeter soft tissue fullness along the medial aspect of the right mid-cranial fossa. Now listen to this next sentence, which was after that paper you all saw, is my guess. But Dr. Krieger says brain mass was excluded with MRI. That is why that discharge paper was not shown into evidence, because there's literally an MRI that excluded a brain mass.
Mm-hmm. And so the sentence before it, the soft tissue fullness, from what my friend told me, it's like swelling in a part of the brain. But again, like an MRI would be more specific. Again, to really understand, you need the scans physically, but swelling and a brain mass are 2 different things.
Yeah.
So I think what the defense is going to cite was the 1.7 by 8.8 centimeters. Like, that's brain mass. He had a brain tumor. But again, the next sentence says
it debunks it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So why would they show that paper when the prosecution's gonna be like, oh, actually, Tom gets out his projector to put the MRI on the screen, that no one can see because of that 1967 middle school projector.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's why they didn't do that, in my opinion. I mean, it's not a fact, but I mean, if I'm the defense, I ain't showing it. But that's why it was very irresponsible for them to show that paper and not debunk it. And then it has the seizure-like activity.
Yeah.
section is the one that they highlighted.
Mhm.
First off, I go in and I say, my honey bunny's been having seizures. And then they're like, oh, really? Well, he's not having one right now. What did describe the seizure? Oh, well, he started shaking and he started having a tremor and he fell out. And I didn't know what to do, and so, but, as we all know, Mike actually asked Chris to go to the hospital, which we're going to debunk here in a minute. We have that one too. But anyway, seizure-like activity being on the discharge paper is literally nothing.
And I think, so the next sentence is kind of, I think, interesting, where it says, Keppra, an anti-seizure medication, was prescribed, but at his wife's request, the anti-seizure prescription was changed to Lamotrigine. And both of them, so I asked my doctor friend, like, both of those medications are prescribed for seizures. But I just find it interesting that she was like, no, I want this one. I think it just shows the level of control that she has.
Sure. And I think that carries on into,
Go ahead. So go back to that.
Sure.
Because, I don't know if, in her report also, he had other MRIs. Like when he was at, like in the February, when he was taken to the hospital, when he was unconscious. So he had other MRIs. And so when you go back to that document, I know we were talking about the seizures, but brain mass was also something that the defense was heavily focused on, saying like, well, he had a brain tumor. So like he was sick. That's why he died. But like, it was never fully diagnosed. Like there was some brain swelling before February.
Sure.
But there was never like a definitive brain mass. Like the swelling later that he had, they said was due to his low blood sugar. So I think those are just important little things to.
No, that's good to know. I wonder if other types of poisoning that she may have access to caused brain swelling as well. I mean, it's very, the timing is very odd for him to have started getting sick in late October, early November, because that's when everything started to happen. But also, I think she planned it in August, and we're going to prove that in a second.
Well, then you have that text, the email. Feels like I've been poisoned.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have all those.
Jason.
Yeah.
That was but okay.
Yeah.
So there's that he was, what point were we at?
Well, no, we was walking through seizures. So first off, he was prescribed seizure medication. Chris said later he didn't want to take it.
Right. And like, so going back to my doctor friend, that sounds weird, but like, if a person has a single seizure, they will be prescribed medication, whether or not they can definitively be diagnosed right then and there with a seizure disorder or just a one-time off thing. They will be prescribed it. So like citing that he was given seizure medication that he didn't take is not a definitive way to say, well, he had seizures. Like it's using that as like the proof that he had a seizure disorder. It's not there, right?
Yeah.
That's just the general protocol that like if a person presents with a doctor has physically seen them have a seizure, they've been told they have a seizure, they're going to be prescribed medication.
Yeah, it's like an antibiotic. It's not going to kill them unless you change it to a medication that someone's allergic to. And also they're saying they feel poisoned and they feel like crap. He's telling Chris he's not going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
We can't prove that, but
right.
Just saying. And there's other things like confusion, urinary retention. Mm-hmm. Chronic sinusitis,
these are all things that the defense took as like, during their questioning, they took these as like gospel. Like, these are the truth. Did you know that he had problems with urine? I can't Matthew Victor asked so many times, did you know that he had problems with urinary retention? They were like, no, what? I didn't know this is where he got it from.
Yeah, I don't even know what you can't, like, how do I talk right now? Like, I've had this issue. What are we talking about here? Like that means is that like a cancer symptom or something? Which everything is if you WebMD it, so don't do it. But yeah, it
Yeah.
just, all of these things, it was like, it just did not make sense. And there was no smoking gun because there was no smoking gun.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's do this allergy thing. I
Okay,
think it's important to do that. Yeah. So
Okay.
this is the first time I saw him being allergic. On record saying he was allergic to promethazine.
Mm-hmm.
And either if she told him or they proved it, either way, it's very interesting to me because those who have been following the case know that Natalie, this is a report here from Dr. Halsey from Access Health.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't, it was in the evidence.
Right. It's also weird too, like he has a known allergy to benzodiazepine, but that wasn't in his chart. So like it makes you like question like if it's complete or not, right? Like that's the allergy that's notated everywhere else, but it's not notated there.
Yep. And correct me if I'm wrong, benzos were found in his system.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
When he was admitted.
We're going to prove that in a second too. Let's talk about the promethazine here. I didn't realize until we saw this report from the evidence of that morning on 2/6, you'll see here, February 6th, 2019, administered was the promethazine shot injection to Natalie, which we knew about.
Natalie, it's 8:45 a.m. Natalie sees Dr. Halsey at Access Health.
Yep. And
on February 6th, 2019.
Yeah. So she gets the shot for promethazine, which we knew about, but also she's prescribed promethazine by tablet form.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize she was prescribed tablet form promethazine,
which he's apparently now allergic to.
According to that discharge paper that came out of left field, either from Natalie that she told them that, or they ran a test and figured out he was allergic to promethazine.
And we know from text messages that she gave him pills. She said that they were blood pressure pills. I don't know if it was to Jennifer or to Stephanie, but she did tell them
he took 2 of my blood pressure pills.
He took 2 of my blood pressure pills. So we always thought they were benzos, but maybe, I mean, if he's allergic now to...
It's possible, but she did do the Xanax thing too later. Which report is it? Is it this same report where...
It's the next one.
Oh, okay, I'm here.
But that's more about the cancer thing if you want to...
Oh, is this cancer? Well, there was one where
so at the very, very top of this one, it says 2/4. So 2 days before Michael dies, or 2 days before Michael falls and is unconscious.
Well, 5 days.
No. That's the next one.
Oh, gotcha.
Scroll up, 2/4. Yeah.
2/4. Oh, yep, got it.
It's the way that they do this. But yeah.
So on February 4th, here from Dr. Halsey's reports, it states, case description, patient said her Xanax was increased to, what is that, TLD, TID?
I don't know.
I have no, like that's I don't know if that's a doctor thing, comment below. So patient said her Xanax was increased to need new prescription with those instructions sent to AH. Thanks. So there's evidence here that Natalie is stating to the doctor that her Xanax has been increased.
And he's prescribing it. He's saying there needs a new prescription.
Yep.
And Google says that Xanax is a benzo.
2 days before he was poisoned.
And we know from the medical records that he did have it he had benzodiazepine in his system when he was admitted to the hospital.
Yep. And
that's in the records.
Like Jozy said, and we can dig it up if you want to look. But
it's in Krieger's report. We can go back to it later.
Well, the text. Okay. Well, let's do it.
Let me go back. My computer doesn't like all my tabs.
Was it toward the top or?
Yeah, Cochran was unconscious. Airway.
This looks like day of
labs evaluated. Okay, here it is. Urine screen was positive for benzodiazepines. There was no benzodiazepines on his medication list or BOP list. So I think that means he was not administered benzodiazepine at the hospital. They're saying it wasn't on his medication list. That's how I'm interpreting it. Or maybe I'm interpreting as like Natalie didn't say that he was on it. It's one or the other.
What does BOP stand for? Or BOP list? I'm thinking this is medication list of things that he was taking before he was there, or
what they were giving him.
BOP list. Like, I think that's what that would be, but I'm not positive there. But anyways, long story short.
It wasn't his system.
Yeah. Now, does it say anywhere on here that he was allergic to benzos? So we can have that.
Yeah. I think Cochran. Keep scrolling down where it talks about his medical history. No, keep going down.
Gotcha.
Here. At various times in the past medical records, severe allergies were reported to the following:
Phenagrin
and antihistamine, lorazepam. Yeah, that's how you say that. Benzodiazepine. It does not say promethazine.
Yeah, it says a benzodiazepine that was seen on his urine toxicology report
on 2/9/2019.
Yeah. But also Xanax is a benzodiazepine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So you would essentially, be allergic to that too.
Right. So
it's the same
and
medication.
this is a larger list than we've ever seen of his allergies, but promethazine is not on there.
Yeah. How do you know you're allergic to lithium?
You take it and I don't know.
You lick a battery? How's that work? All right. So anyways, it says past medical history was negative for diabetes, prior hypoglycemia episodes, alcohol abuse, adrenal dysfunction, renal failure, autoimmune disease, or gastric bypass surgery. So anyways, the main thing that we wanted to show was that it is on his medical records. We may not have them, but from a doctor who is a, credentialed endocrinologist and who reviewed the records.
And who testified. I mean, this was like, she took an oath that these were true, that her records were true, and that her report was factual.
Yep. And the other people weren't even endos, were they? They weren't endocrinologists.
No, she was the only one.
Yeah. That's the only one that matters to me because that's literally the diabetes doctor.
Yeah. However, the defense, their expert medical witnesses, discredited her because she wasn't a what's the word for when they dig up dead bodies? What is it? I'm like blanking.
The coroner?
Yeah, no.
What?
When they perform the autopsy. What is their medical title?
The examiner?
Yeah, but they have like a title. Why am I?
Hold on. All right, let me Google this. My Google's dumpster fire anyway.
My brain is too full of other things.
A person who...
We're so ridiculous.
Let's see. Person... We were doing so good. We had it nailed. Person who examines dead bodies.
Why can't I think of what they're called?
Medical examiner.
Yeah, but am I just having like a forensic pathologist?
Ah, yeah, there it is.
That's the word.
AKA tombstone salesman.
Oh.
Uribe.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the defense, I forget what was her name, but she was like, well, she's not a forensic pathologist, so we can't trust anything she says.
Mm-hmm.
However, like she's testifying to different things as an endocrine. It just, yeah. But...
Yeah, well, it's apples and oranges.
Our point stands.
Yeah, our point stands. It said he was allergic to benzos in his medical records. There is evidence of her telling the freaking doctor on February 4th, 2 days before he was poisoned, and also, I'll just say it, drugged before the shot was given for all those. Why would he not get mad when she gave him a shot? Well, he was knocked out, okay? It's obvious. He was in his freaking system. She asked on February 4th she told the doctor that her Xanax had been raised.
Yeah, and that to prescribe it to her.
Yeah, but and you listen, I love Dr. Halsey. I'm so glad he testified, but is that how it works? Can you just tell the doctor like, hey, by the way?
I mean, like, so this is, I mean, it's just a snippet of that she could have been like, oh, I'm seeing so, like, it's hard to say what.
Well, her being medical too, yeah. I'm sure holds a little bit of weight. And plus, they work together. So there's a lot of that in this, obviously.
And honestly, like, I mean, it's a 2-sentence barely a description of a whole visit. So like, I don't think we can say that.
Can't really say the context of the conversation.
Yeah, but regardless, she had a prescription that her husband was allergic to.
Yeah, exactly.
And she filled it 2 days before.
Exactly. And also, it was noted he was allergic to promethazine, which she was given. We think. We
don't know.
I mean, either way.
According to one document.
I'm going to speculate.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
Why do you already have that down here?
Oh, we had a tinfoil hat show. Have you not watched it?
Gosh.
So let me speculate. So
I feel like I want.
You want one?
Can I have like the crown or something here? No. Yeah.
Here. All right. Here, you can have one too. All right, we're ready. So, my speculation is in November, it's wrote on the discharge paper because, I can't do this. I need to do this seriously because Natalie brought it up. That's my speculation. She brought it up. She knew he was allergic. And then later on, she didn't think of that when she went and got promethazine from Access Health that morning. And I think she made the devil's milkshake or something.
Gosh.
And that's what happened. So that's speculation, but take that for what it's worth. But there's a lot of odd coincidences here that I feel are circumstantial enough to prove that she drugged him before the shot. Okay. All right. Next.
We're doing cancer now? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I think we do cancer. Yeah, we do cancer because it goes right into Dr. Halsey's report.
Yeah.
So, as you know, people still listening know, Natalie said she had cancer, and she didn't have cancer ultimately. But here's the proof for that, if you want to see it. So, there are known text messages of Natalie talking about Duke. Let's start there first.
Go to Stephanie 1.
Let me make sure. So I got Stephanie 1.
Yeah, well, because first we go to like her, revealing I have cancer. Page 5.
Let me make sure.
There's multiple. I mean, we showed you the book.
Yeah, I got it. All right, I'm here. Wait, is it page 5 or 14?
Well, 5 is the first text messages where she's saying I have cancer.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's go to 5 then. We'll start there.
Leukemia.
It's important to set up the context for this devil's lie. All right. Oh, yeah. I said this earlier. Okay. So I'll read it again. So on January 14th, 10:35 a.m., and all these timelines are important. We're not going to really go through the timeline like we did with Chris Davis's episode. But in that episode, I highly suggest you check it out if you haven't, because we talk about the October to June timeline and the Monday to Friday theory that Chris has that I think is very relative to why this text message happens. But
and how, remember, during this time, she's still operating her Ponzi scheme. By January, her excuse about the government shutdown is running out. So we're on to the next excuse for why people aren't getting money.
We can lightly touch on that. So she gets that fat stack, well, some of the fat stacks, at $500,000 from Chris in October. Mike gets sick in October, late October, early November, twice. There's some weird symptoms going on, kind of like he's been poisoned. We don't know. But, we went through all that. So then money issues start happening. People start asking where it's at. By the gift of government, a government shutdown happens in December. Natalie is probably so ecstatic, she had to sit on her hands to keep from giving shots. So she, okay. So the shutdown happens. It cranks back up in January, and ding, ding, ding. What do we have, Johnny? Cancer. At 10:35 a.m. is when she tells Stephanie. She actually says in this text message, "Hey, girl, I found out Friday I have leukemia. I will start treatments in Cleveland on February 14th. Apparently, they did some testing I was unaware of while I was hospitalized. Results came back and they called me Friday. I didn't tell Mike till this AM, so we got text evidence of when she told Mike. He did not know about this until the same day that she told Stephanie.
Mm-hmm.
And that is psycho to me. But if she did have cancer, it's like, okay, bam, let me just tell everybody. Bada bing, same day. But anyway, I didn't want to ruin his weekend with the kids.
Yeah. And then later in the next page, she says what it is, like what kind of cancer.
Yeah, she says, and then Stephanie being a good friend.
Which, really good friend.
Says, what? I won't tell a soul. I haven't said anything anyway about y'all's illnesses. What type of leukemia do you have? How can I help you? She says CLL, chronic lymphatic leukemia. I'm sorry, y'all. Lymphatic. That sounds right.
Right.
Just pray for me, girl. Big hugs. Praise Lord, it's me and not kiddos. Just thankful for that. My goodness. And then Stephanie said, OMG, what? I'm shocked. It will be all good. How long has it been since you were hospitalized? Last time was in November when I passed out and broke arm. I want to dive into that mess. What's that mess? Passed out and broke arm?
Do we have time?
I mean,
we can't.
I don't know what that is. It's just always something. I don't believe that either. You think she broke her arm? I think she made her own cast. How about that?
Okay.
All right.
If you keep going
that's speculation.
Allegedly comes in a bit.
Natalie allegedly made her own cast. All right.
Okay. Okay, go to the bottom of this page.
Yeah, the reason we're bringing this up, we're going to set it up because we got to show you Duke being brought up.
Yeah.
I think it was page 14.
Wait, hold on. Keep going down.
Okay.
Look at that. There we go.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this was January 15th. At the doctor now, flu again or pneumonia, waiting on results. Also starting Xanax and doubling BP meds.
Oh, she didn't start it till January.
Apparently. I don't know.
And doubling BP meds.
Blood pressure. So,
because we all know them 30-year-old women, they got the high blood pressure.
So you could argue that she was setting up for potentially poisoning.
That's 100% what was going on. I don't give a damn.
I mean, so this is there was 2 instances where Michael was sick late 2018. Now this is about a month out from when he dies. She's talking about Xanax.
Funny thing, I just doubled my BP meds a month before my husband was murdered. Okay,
keep going. The Cleveland Clinic comes in next.
Okay. So we're scrolling down. We'll keep the dead air from going. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Let's see if we can get a date.
Yeah, let's get a date on this Duke text. It looks
January
like
16th.
Yep.
Also, shout out to Stephanie for saving all of her. You're a queen for being able to prove all.
I gotta say it publicly. That's my bestie.
She's the best.
Heck yeah, Stephanie's the best. She's.
I mean, as a person in general.
Yeah.
But also because we have all this evidence from her.
Oh yes, you never know when your good friend's gonna murder their husband.
So January 16th.
Life disclaimer on this. I'm sorry. So January 16th, it says Stephanie, or she says, now I'm going to just chill a while. Stephanie says, you sure? I can help with it with whatever. She says positive. Stephanie says, okay, let me know. And at 8:48 p.m., it says, we are headed to Duke emergency room. Stephanie says, oh no, Natalie, what's wrong? Want us to take you? Where are the kids? Natalie says, long story, Cleveland called today and said they wouldn't take my new insurance, and I'm just getting worse. My PCP, primary care physician,
there you go,
recommended showing up to ER.
Emergency room.
Yep. Emergency room and forcing them to start treatment. We are about an hour and a half away. We left at 7. Was this when Stephanie said that? No. Where was Natalie when she had done that 20-minute trip from Huntington?
This was later.
Yeah, that was different.
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all
but also let's Google, okay, we left at 7. Well, I guess it would be PM.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be fun. We're doing a
Okay.
test?
All right, let's go from Daniels, West Virginia to Duke.
Where is Duke? It's in North Carolina, right?
Yeah. Isn't that the university?
Duke University Hospital.
It is a 3.5 hour drive.
Okay.
She left at 7.
Is that, do we know? What is the text?
It says, we left at 7. At 9 o'clock, they were an hour and a half away. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's
tracks.
right.
Okay, cool.
That tracks. Okay, that
We
tests
just
out.
gotta check.
Yeah. Well, anyway, she heads to Duke. So, going to Duke, she is going to have tests done.
Mhm.
And she's actively saying
Yeah.
she's going to Duke. She tells Dr. Halsey this and
Mhm.
says they
But
have
keep
my...
going on Stephanie's because they get better.
Yeah.
Well, not better, but like go down 2 pages.
Let me make sure it was, yeah. Down 2 pages.
So they're talking about going, keep going.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to Duke because like you have cancer and it's like getting worse and you're like, hey bud,
Yeah, for
do
those
you
just...
want some contracts?
Yeah, for those just listening, about 2 hours later, apparently while Natalie's
in the emergency room at Duke.
Yeah, they're at the emergency room at Duke. Let me make sure that date's correct.
I think yeah.
Which, in Natalie's defense, Stephanie does say, do you want me to do the contract stuff for you?
Okay.
And then Natalie says, yes, you can share. We ended up having to tell the kids. Then Stephanie says, do you want me to call the wholesalers for you or anything? And Natalie says, I have it already set up. Of course she does. I'll just send you the info so you can get it consulted. So I can get it consulted. And then Stephanie probably thinking like, well, I kind of want to hear someone else say this but you, but says, okay, I don't mind to help you at all. Natalie says, thanks, girl. I'll just need to make you up an invoice. And then Stephanie says to invoice you, which I wonder if that's like, are you saying like you owe me, Natalie? You know, do you want me to invoice you? I wonder if that's what that is. But anyway, I know Stephanie's probably listening. She'll tell me. So, and then Natalie brings up the contracts. There are 2 today. They are smaller. You can have them or consult. Either way. Sorry, I just meant keep track of it. Surgical Masks Health Center, 3998. Return, 5204, 14 days. Betadine swabs, $8,935 in the return, $12,024, 21 days. So anyway, it's
Oh, but keep going. I mean, so we get more of the Duke.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, in the ER now.
Oh, okay, she says I'm in the ER now doing a full, this is 3 a.m. in the ER now doing a full CT scan of neck down, looking for cancer spread and possible pulmonary embolism. You should be asleep, girly. And because Stephanie's checking on her, being a good friend. Says laying in ER, still waiting on a bed, had a ton of blood tests, heart tests, dreading my blood marrow biopsy.
Which would have proved she had cancer.
Yes, would have 100% proved she had cancer, but it actually did the opposite. So Stephanie says, are you okay? Did your blood pressure bottom out? Says, I don't know. Duke called them AM. I wear a wireless monitor at all times now. My heart rate got to 205 and my heart stopped beating for 45 seconds. Oh my God. So what are they going to do? Having cath and remapping next Friday at Duke. So anyways.
It seems like she's a patient now.
Yeah.
This would all indicate that like you're a patient at Duke.
Like, oh yeah, you're in Duke Hospital as a patient. Well, now let's bring in Dr. Halsey again.
This is I think it's numbered.
It's
Halsey referral.
Yeah, Halsey referral. I got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Go to the bottom first.
We'll go to the bottom first and work our way up. It was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the third one, January 29th, 2019. Is that?
I'm there.
Yeah. Okay. Amber.
All right. So on January 29th, 2019, Dr. Halsey
Makes a note.
It says Amber at Duke University called asking for records, documentation, test results, etc., to confirm that patient has CLL. Please fax callback number listed above if needed.
So that would indicate they don't have anything.
Right.
Right? Like they don't have any records.
Yeah.
Of her.
Yeah. Yeah. Duke has no records.
We think,
but also stay with us. So that was around the time so it looks like that
so
Natalie did go to Duke because that was around the same date that she was texting Stephanie.
So January 16th and 17th is when the text message are from. This is January 29th. I mean,
so that maybe they were following up.
Right. So maybe she did go to the emergency room, but as far as like all the tests, we don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, what I see here is they didn't find anything. This is speculation. They didn't find anything. So Amber called them.
Like, right. Because she's telling them she has CLL.
Yes, exactly.
Which is a blood?
She's wanting records from Access Health to confirm that she has CLL.
Right.
So, and what's the date for the CLL revelation on Stephanie's text messages?
When she first
wasn't it the 16th?
She texts her like the January 11th that she has cancer.
Yeah, and she told her the kind right after that.
Yeah, that was January 14th.
Okay, so she told Stephanie she had CLL on January 14th. Stay with us, y'all. We're walking through this, and it makes sense to me. If you're not if you don't know much about this case, you may be lost, but I know people are with us. So she texts Stephanie about CLL on the 14th. She has this Duke episode and goes down on
January 16th.
January 16th. Amber at Duke University calls Access Health asking for records, documentation, test results, etc., to confirm that this patient has CLL, meaning they don't know she has CLL, and they're talking to her primary care physician to see if they can prove she has CLL, which they don't have. So, fast forward to February 1st, 2019. Case description states, Amber with Duke University called and stated that they do not have records backing the diagnosis for CLL. They will not see the patient. They did call and let the patient know. They will need records showing proof of the diagnosis of CLL before they can see this patient on February freaking 1st. Now, you tell me how she can't provide those records if she told Stephanie about CLL on January 14th.
Right. And so the way that this was presented, so actually, Halsey was the defense's witness.
Which, thank you.
Yeah. Now, but the state actually, the prosecution, this is their evidence. So they were like, okay, cool. So they admitted this into evidence when the defense brought up Halsey. But again, so the way that the defense presented this as like, oh, she was researching her diagnosis. That's why there's nothing definitive. She was trying to get people to help her. So I forget how he.
She was lying because that she had cancer and she really didn't, and she was trying to curry favor and make people feel sorry for her. I'm not going to say allegedly because that's what she was doing. There's again, no records of her ever having cancer.
Right. And that's what it says right there.
And you talk about a smoking gun for the defense. If it's like, here's my paper stating, look, blood records, I got the cancer. And you know why this upsets me so bad? I have a good friend going through leukemia right now, and it has turned her life upside down. She is such a bright human being. And the struggle she's had to go through with her family to go through this. And I'm talking years. I mean, this stuff takes years to work through.
Yeah.
That's why this is so freaking disgusting. And I'm not going to lie and say this, like, potentially she had cancer, because she freaking did.
And also, too, like, as a child, if this is your mom, you're like, well, this stuff's hereditary, right? Like, now you're worried about yourself. Like,
go tell your kids you have cancer and you really don't. What kind of person does that? I know that's not motive, but all this stuff adds up to this type of personality. That is a sick human being.
mm-hmm.
And not to mention, they raise money under false pretenses, but that wasn't their fault necessarily. But there were organizations raising money actively on Natalie having cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And she took said money, and these donators did not get it back. So there you go. Do with that what you will. But that's why this is so disgusting. Anyone who defends this, take a look and listen to this last 15 minutes. Please do not disrespect everyone who has struggled with this awful disease by saying maybe she did, because she didn't. Okay. All right. Cancer debunked? I think so.
Okay.
Next, bottle was full.
Oh, God.
So they was on Dateline stating that the insulin bottle... Did they state it on Dateline? They stated it on Dateline, didn't they? They showed the picture and everything.
The investigator, it's fun. I think this is actually this snippet is from 2020. But again, like...
This is from 2020. Yeah, they didn't show this one.
I think they didn't.
Well, now, see if you can find it in there while I'm talking. I'm kind of setting up what this is for those who may not know. And then I would like to see what kind of photo they used, because that's very interesting to me. I do know that they implied that bottle was full on Dateline.
No, they showed the picture.
Oh, they showed the same picture?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at the picture, you'll see this line right here. So there's a line. Let me zoom in.
I think right after he says it, they show.
Okay, this is not a bubble. This is a line.
Yeah. he says, I think it was pretty clear there was a full bottle. And then it was like a blurry photo, and then they make it clearer, and it's this photo.
I mean, you even got, like, it even gets blurrier on top of it, of like or the bottom of it, where it has.
No, maybe it's the other photo. I thought they showed. Maybe it's not that photo.
No, I don't think they did. The photo I saw didn't show a definitive line.
Okay.
And I thought was very, very misleading. But look at this bottle. This is almost half empty. My estimation is
No. Sorry.
Did they show it?
Mm-hmm.
They showed the same one?
Yep.
Okay. Well.
Right before he says it's not a full bottle, they show the photo.
Okay.
They show this photo.
Well.
You can see the line.
I mean, the line's right there.
Honestly, I'm so mad that during the trial, I didn't have this photo. Like, it wasn't this, because honestly, I thought that the top was a bubble, and I don't know what I thought that was. I thought that little...
This is just glass.
I know, but it's like reflective and like...
I'll tell you what an insulin bottle looks like.
I know. But you're being told it's full, so you're looking at the top.
Exactly, and you're not a diabetic.
No.
Now, I'll tell you what Humalog looks like when you get it out and it's a full bottle. You're going to have a line about right around here, and it's going to be full of bubbles. You're going to see so many bubbles. If that bottle is full, you'll at least see 3. You'll probably see 35. So you see right here. You see this bubble right here where the line is? You've got indentions of a bubble.
Well, you can tell the difference in, like, you can't see it on the picture as much, but like if you zoom out, like you can tell like the glass looks different from where the liquid is to where the liquid isn't.
Exactly. It's clearer on top.
Yeah. And
down here it's got like you got some blurring action going on because it's got fluid in front of it, but up here you've got sharp glass in the background. This bottle is half empty, without a doubt. So the fact that they put that on there and didn't have, well, actually, there you can see the line. It's right here. Like, the fact that they did that was very irresponsible too. So anyway, that's all we need to do for that one. It's debunked.
Okay.
It was not full.
I was gonna say like that's 100 unit bottle.
No, it's 1,000. Let's see.
100 units.
It's 100 per ml, and it's 10 ml.
So a 10. Just to be clear, like a 10 ml bottle, it's to the top.
Yeah,
right. It's
has 1,000 units. Now you may have some variability in here,
right? But I just want to point that out that like I did like because I wanted to look at what it said it was full just to make sure that like it wasn't 5.
Sure. No,
okay.
yeah.
I'm saying words; they make sense.
No, yeah. No, it makes sense. Well, there is some variability. Like it's either going to be here or here.
Okay, but I'm just saying like this is a 10 milliliter vial.
Yeah,
it should be to the top. It should not be right there.
Yeah, and we know Jennifer gave her a new bottle.
She did say it was a new bottle.
There's around 400 units missing in this.
Whew, that's a lot.
That's my estimation. Oh yeah, that'd kill a stable.
Yeah.
Of horses.
Right. And so there's something. This is like a random thought, but like it was brought up that like this couldn't. Why would she keep an expired bottle? Because I think like look at the. Can you see the expiration date? Expiration.
March 2021. It wasn't expired then.
Yeah, but they found it in June.
It wasn't expired. 2019.
Oh, it says 2021?
Yeah. Yeah, you got years on these bad boys.
Why did they say it was they were like saying it's like, oh, no. They said like after it's been punctured, it's only good for 90 days, right? Is that the truth?
I mean, that's false.
How
as long as it's refrigerated, it's good till your expiration date.
Because that was a point they brought up too, was that like, and that's a point that their forensic pathologist brought up, like it's only good for so many days, so like it doesn't make sense for her to have this. But also like if you go with that rationale of it expires after punctured, why would you keep an expired bottle for your friend's son to save their right? The logic doesn't make sense at all either. If it's for the Davis's son and it's expired, well, that's not going to help him,
right?
Like why?
So okay. I'm gonna speculate again. Well, first, it wasn't expired because I don't. Now, listen, I'm not a doctor.
We clearly know we're both not medical professionals.
Yeah,
we don't know words.
Yeah. So, I'm sure it loses. What would be the word? Like potency? Yeah. I'm sure it loses some potency. It's not going to be expired until it hits that date. It says on it expiration date. So anyway, the reason she kept this bottle, my speculation being with my tinfoil hat on, is that she knew if she threw it away that Jennifer Davis was going to eventually figure out that she gave her a bottle of insulin. Mm. That is why the first thing she says in multiple times, the first thing she says to Stephanie, she goes up and says they even took Gavin Davis's insulin. Mm-hmm. She goes into the findings.
From the search warrant.
Yeah, with Tim Bledsoe. She flips straight to that insulin page. Yep. And that's the first time that it's put in his brain of like, oh, well, there may be something there because they took the insulin.
Yeah.
She flips to that page and says, this is for my friend's son. Mm-hmm. She takes Stephanie again to the freaking dish. And I love the dish. Y'all go. So Uptown Dish too. Shout out Beckley. They go to the dish and she has to sit down. And then Natalie goes in and then Daphne goes and sits at the bar or something, or not the bar, but like a different section of the restaurant. Mm-hmm. Stephanie sits down and is like, well, what's going on? And Natalie, not verbatim, states, well, I know you want to when I know what happened to Michael. And he was taking insulin for bodybuilding. So insulin starts playing and that's the reason, right? I'm 99% sure that's exactly what was said. That she said that he was taking insulin for bodybuilding at the dish. You remember that conversation?
Yeah. That's what she told.
Well, she said that multiple times.
Everyone.
Yeah. So that's what was said there at the dish early. So as you all see what I'm saying here, she had to keep the bottle. Otherwise, she thought she was meat. Now, granted, I think if she did get rid of the bottle, it'd have been a lot harder. I'm glad she didn't. But in her brain, that's my speculation on why. So.
Oh, I found what was the name of the defense's forensic pathologist that came from Rhode Island and paid $45,000?
Oh, yeah. She did the actors.
Yeah. What was her name?
Gene Hackman's.
Not that one.
Hang on. Oh, man. Banerjee?
Banerjee.
Yeah.
Yeah. She states in her report, a bottle of insulin Lispro is only usable for 28 days after an initial puncture. That's where they're citing all of this from. It's in the defenses.
Okay, I'm going to take a chance and Google this. How long does Humalog last after opening?
28 days.
Okay, well.
It lasts, but it's...
This is
whether the vial is open or the pen is stored.
Okay.
It should be discarded even if insulin remains. However, but I wonder if it says, like, look up, is it still effective?
Both in vials. So
she's citing, like, the medical, I guess, recommendation.
Okay, like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I know, like...
Are you throwing out your insulin after 28 days?
No, I've used insulin. I've used some old insulin, son. Now, I know, like, the potency would go down for sure. But, I have no clue to what extent. But even still, that's why Natalie kept the bottle. First off, she would have gave the bottle back. She couldn't give the bottle back because she knew, well, actually, the tests weren't ran, unfortunately, but she knew that if the tests were ran, she had to speak for this insulin. So that's when she started concocting all of these different potential reasons.
To that point, too, like, if the man is injecting insulin and steroids and, all these other drugs repeatedly for, what's alleged to have been years, where are the bottles? Where are the needles?
Why the text message?
Yeah. Like,
yep. We're going to bring that up.
You have probably like what, a Sharps container or whatever that you store all your...
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I don't cap my needles. I for sure have a Sharps container.
Like, you have you have needles and, stuff.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's not just like I don't, like, you have all that stuff around. Like, you have all the stuff you need to administer your medication. Like,
exactly. Yes.
But none of that was found when they searched their home. Natalie even told the investigators, no, I threw out all of his stuff. I threw out all of his medications. So.
Yeah, including the, oh, crap. The glucometer that she said she checked the sugar with. That right there is a smoking gun. She gives them that glucometer. They store the sugar readings. Look, I wasn't lying. Well, you know why she can't show it? Because she was freaking lying. So I brought up here, we talked about, let's stay on insulin for a minute. This text to Jennifer Davis, this is the morning of the poisoning, Natalie says, we are both sick, so they put me on such high dose steroids, I have to start taking small insulin shots. Gonna have to order a vial. This was not stated in their case description for the visit. There was nothing about insulin.
No.
There was, so
this was January 6th. So yeah, at what time is that? 9 a.m. And she saw Halsey at 8-ish.
Yep.
8 something. So this would have been right after she saw Halsey.
Oh, yeah. And she ain't going to check her sugar that fast. It says they gave me 2 steroid shots in the last 2 days. Said my red blood cells are only 5% oxygenated. Sugar was 280. That was not in the records.
Which it doesn't even say that he checked her.
No. They wouldn't have checked her freaking sugar. All your water should be coming today or tomorrow. Don't know what that is. I said it all dramatic, but...
I think that was the bingo or something.
Oh, yeah. And then Jennifer being a good friend. Oh, wow. Are you going to the cancer center or Halsey? I have a vial of insulin if you need it.
Went to Halsey.
Natalie says went to Halsey too sick to travel or to have procedure tomorrow. Jennifer says, oh, that's awful. You poor thing. You need anything? Natalie says, I may have to borrow one and pay you back tomorrow. It will be a lot cheaper than buying it outright. I told them it was your cupcakes that threw me over the edge. Mike's sick today, too. The reason she did this is she knows Jennifer's going to offer.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other freaking reason because Jennifer is a saint.
Yeah.
And she knows how to manipulate and bring up these things to make it look like she didn't exactly. She asked for it.
Right. And she did not give her needles. Jennifer did not give Natalie needles.
No.
So she had them. Natalie had needles.
Yeah. So there's proof of the insulin hitting that day. If Mike, let's talk about the Mr. Universe debunking, which Mr. Universe is what the defense kept calling Mike, and it was very disrespectful to me, in my opinion. So, like you said, if he was on insulin shots, why do you need insulin?
Mm-hmm. If you already had, and also like you're talking about, you're alleging years of abusing drugs for bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you would assume he knows what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I get that. It doesn't add up.
Yeah. Mike was healthy. He didn't have a steroid body.
No.
I mean, if someone is heavily lifting weights and doing roids, you're like, holy piss, that is crazy. You know, like if you're putting effort to actually do it and to work out hard and to do it, like first off, you're gonna be real swollen, which he wasn't. He just had an average athletic body.
And they would have found that in his system, you would think, right? As well, when he went to the hospital. At least,
they would have found insulin if they did the test.
Right. But I mean, like when they found like something related to steroid use in his system, even in October.
I don't know.
2018.
I think the only way you could probably tell would be your testosterone level. If it's like extremely high. But that's just me. I don't know the ins and outs. That's just me guessing because it's all basically testosterone and raising your testosterone levels, in which we're going to get into that part now, which is the Mexican supplements. This is going, I got to put the hat back on.
Oh,
so this is going, my speculation of why I feel that Natalie planned this in August. So we heard this Mexican supplement thing.
I hit the camera.
Oh, it's okay.
Is it good?
It's fine. Yeah, it's just shaking a little bit. We heard this Mexican supplement thing all throughout the trial on, how Mike was on Mexican supplements. We actually are going to show you all the email.
I think I titled it Mexican drug.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Mexican drugs.
Yeah.
Can you see any of my No. Okay. Never mind.
Your what? Your notes?
No. And I didn't know, is this my OneDrive? Yeah.
Sure. No. I don't think I can see anything.
No, okay, cool.
I just have this one. So there's an email here that's from Timothy. It's forwarding. I think he's forwarding it to Bob Heinzman.
Yeah. It's something that I think she sent it to. Yeah. It says from Natalie to Tim.
Yeah. So Natalie.
On May.
Yeah. Natalie sent Tim this email. And on the email, it actually states on August 20th, 2018, and I'll probably blur that email address, but it states, from Natalie to this company, I need to order enclophamine citrate, but no longer see it on your available products. Please advise.
Also, she is sending this.
Yeah.
Why is she ordering?
Mike can't order his own Mexican supplements?
Apparently not. Also, we know that, the bottle that was labeled and clomiphene citrate was not, in fact, that drug.
Yeah, it had something else in it.
It was letrozole and glycerol, which increased testosterone production in the body. But regardless, it was not what she was asking for.
Right.
Or what was labeled as the Mexican supplements.
And so further in this email, they respond, they say, Natalie is located in the solutions section. Please see the link below. They send her a link for enclomiphene on August 21st. Let us know. We look forward to fulfilling. So this is from Nootropic Source is the email. I don't know.
But we also don't know if like this is the, like we don't, there was never a correlation between the drug that was tested and whether or not it came from this site. But when Bledsoe was in here, he said that like this company is in Tampa, Florida.
Yep.
They're not in Mexico.
Yeah, they're not in Mexico. And this is important because Natalie is waving this bottle around when Michael is first revealed to be on a ventilator.
She gives it to Donna.
Yeah.
Who gives it to the police. Like this is what killed your son. Here, like who carries that with them?
Who does that? The same day. I
mean, if it was me, I'd be like, here to the doctor. He took this. Right? Why would you give it to the mother?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
She's wanting all this crap coming from all these different angles, and it's just too much. It's too much. But anyways, my theory is in August, she knew what she was going to do. And it was just, how do I do it? Because he started getting sick in October. And it's a huge coincidence that he started getting sick that soon after this.
Mm-mm.
And then that's their literal defense.
Yeah. And again, like it's never proven that any drug that he took, whether it was a supplement, whether it was steroids there's never proof that a drug was purchased from Mexico. I think they asked the son, like, did you see packages or like, but again, like he's like, yeah, I saw packages. Like, of course, like who doesn't order stuff from wherever?
Right.
But like, there's never like a label from Mexico, like nothing. Like, here's multiple stamps. Here's like, bunch of money paid from shipping. Like, no, like none of that was shown. It was just stated he took Mexican supplements and we will just assume that now.
Yep. So there you go. Mexican supplements debunked. Natalie ordered them most likely. I mean, that's speculation, but why is she emailing the freaking company? All right. So, and it's also mentioned by the defense about the state trooper and medical professionals being at the house. Mm-hmm. We've went through this several times. Natalie would frame things with Stephanie Hamilton being at the house saying, when Mike does this, he sleeps it off. There would be manipulation going on with John too. And of course, they were available to do anything, but that's why they ended up leaving, is because Natalie's medical, and she implied that this had been a reoccurring thing.
Yeah. Well, they were her alibis.
Yeah.
Right. They were her excuse for why she did what she did.
They done a story on that, like a year after or something.
Yeah. Well, it was Natalie interviewed with the paper. And it said, like, I had a state trooper and a medical professional there within hours. But again, like, they were used for their positions.
Yep.
They were never there. They were there as their friends, and they trusted the wife of their friend to make the decisions because that's what most people do. Like, had a state trooper actually shown, like, not that he wasn't, but like, had he been there in a capacity as a state trooper, Michael would have gone to the hospital.
Yep.
Had a medical professional been there in a medical professional capacity to diagnose a patient, to say, here's what, they would have controlled the situation, but that's not what they were there for.
Yep. Exactly.
How's your sugar? You doing good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. Getting a little irate doesn't help it, but it'll be fine. So yeah, and then Chris Davis, he didn't come till that evening, and as soon as he got there, he's like, "I'm going to the hospital. I don't know what y'all are doing. That's what we're going to do." And
they changed his clothes.
Yeah, they changed clothes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's very frustrating. Yeah, I mean, do a whole video. I offered the defense to do a whole video on the 9 hours that she didn't go to the hospital. And you know, let's come up with some evidence here on why that happened, other than, you know, pointing fingers. Mike doesn't like hospitals was a bullet point. That is also false. We proved with Chris Davis. The times in October and November, Mike asked Chris both times to take him to the hospital, and Chris did. So that's pretty straightforward. I mean, there was no evidence that he didn't like hospitals, other than Natalie saying it in text messages to Stephanie, and Stephanie saying, "Blame me, I don't care." You know, that was a complete farce.
Also, like a general dislike of it's not like, not everyone likes hospitals. People know that they need to go when they need to go, but just saying you don't like hospitals is not a reason to not take someone
who
when
likes
they're
them.
dying. No, like,
you know, I mean,
not
you're going to go if you feel like, oh, wait, this is different. You're going to go. I mean, well, now some people won't, but
I wouldn't. It's not something to base your whole case on.
Yeah, exactly. So the only other thing I got is, you know, all of this other stuff. They just listed a bunch of random reasons in the mercy phase on why Natalie shouldn't go to prison, which I just thought was pretty crazy. I mean, it involved like the taxes it would cost to, you know, keep her, to keep her behind bars. You know, obviously her being a mother, which is very sad, and things like that were tried to be used. Jesus judging wasn't used by Stanley, but that was used by other family members, saying Jesus is gonna judge you on how you decide. But all of that stuff, there really isn't no debunking any of that. It was just showing the absurdity of like, what are we doing? Like, we just provided all of this mountains of evidence that Natalie Cochran murdered Michael Cochran. She was convicted of it, and we're just ignoring that. I guess that was the most frustrating part about that. But really, that's all I got, Jozy. I mean,
you know, I think this is a very complicated case, and it has lots of layers. And I think maybe where, like, when there was 2020, I think there was more time spent on the Ponzi scheme, and they weren't able to get as in depth on the trial, but we'd all just watch the trial. And so I think that because this is really two crimes, you know, the Ponzi scheme and then the murder, I just think that maybe they got overwhelmed and they weren't able to, you know, really portray both, you know, because I mean, as a journalist, like, you do have a responsibility to give both sides the option of telling their side. Like, in any case, any story, you have to give both sides fair play. But I just think that when there are like facts that are about in the case that you can present, that you can refute, you need to bring them up as well, in addition to giving people, you know, equal play. But I just feel like it was...
There was nothing factual brought up by them at all. They didn't even bring up the stuff they admitted into evidence. It was just smoke and mirrors, you know, Mexican supplements, you know, Mr. Universe. His body was too rotten to be able to tell if there are tumors. Are you kidding me? It was anything but evidence. And I just don't know why. If it was me, I wouldn't stake my career on talking about this lady anymore. I mean, I just wouldn't, because literally, every person has a right to the best defense, and they did that. Now we're done. The problem with these stories, these national stories, and throwing this stuff out there is it's just causing miscommunication and untruths to happen, and people not understanding the full scope of what happened. It's just a very lazy thing. Now, I'd love to hear the whole interview. Maybe they did refute it and do. They just didn't want to use it in the edit, which is my guess. But then again, I don't know. I mean, their host talks too much for one. 2020, if anyone ever asks what, do what you want, but in my opinion, the best one by far was 2020. They did a really good job laying everything out, and also refuting everything that needed refuted. Here's what happened. She murdered her husband. She stole all this money. Case closed. But Dateline wasn't like that. It just left it open-ended to me. But yeah.
I think they could have put on like a 2-parter. I think that would have maybe helped them if they had. Yeah. Because again, like there's so much to go over that I think they ran out. It felt like they ran out of time.
Sure.
To a certain, I mean, I don't know. I don't like. I sat beside the Dateline producer literally every day in court. We had a lot of really great conversations. I mean, so I don't like to. I don't know. That's just
maybe they didn't know because they didn't come across the evidence.
Well, we know they bought it.
Well,
I'm pretty.
Maybe they didn't look at it all.
Well, because the Humalog, like that the only way they could have gotten that vial was through the evidence, and I'm pretty sure they bought all of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. I think maybe they're used to doing single episodes and they bit off more than they could chew. I don't know.
I feel like they needed to make a more intriguing story. Other than this woman stole nearly $3 million and murdered her husband. I mean, that should be really, and here are the facts to support that. Not the main one. What downed at 3 points out of the scale of 10 for me was them allowing the line, if Michael were alive, I believe he would be in prison. That was not cool at all because it's proved otherwise that he would not be. But yeah,
it could have been a disconnect too. I feel like you really need to really understand this story. You kind of just have to understand West Virginia and its people. And if you aren't able to establish that connection at the beginning, I think it's going to color the way that you tell this story, because you're not going to understand like people like Jennifer, why they are so loving and giving. You're not going to understand Stephanie Hamilton, and you're not going to understand Chris Davis or John or all the other people. And if you can't understand the victims in this case, then you're not going to be able to tell their story.
That's a good point. Yeah, culture differences. It's like, but there's good people everywhere that I'm sure got it. But yeah, that's a good point. But anyway, all right, Jozy. I think this is it for a while. I don't know. I said that last time, but I felt like this one really needed to be done. I appreciate you gathering all this stuff up. Now there were some questions. Let me make sure I touch on any potential questions that were asked, just to be safe. I know that there was one brought up about. Oh, okay. Let's see. All right, y'all give me a second. I'm going to do some reading. So why didn't she cremate his body? There would have been no proof. She said he hit his head on the counter in the kitchen, and that's what made him fall, and there was a dent in the counter. Why didn't he have a place on his forehead? From the photos, it looks like a granite countertop. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the counter situation was a complete farce. She filed the insurance claim like literally
twice.
Within the week of him dying. I think it was even almost the same day.
Right. She said one of them said he hit his head, and then another was he was messing with a scope.
Yeah.
For a rifle. And there was multiple stories on that one.
Multiple stories, which is insane.
And the cremated thing, I think it was said that like Michael never wanted to be cremated, that like there was something with fire when he was young.
Yeah. But there was a very odd burial where Natalie controlled the guest list and it was quick.
Yeah. Well, I think to that point, and it was brought up by the defense, like, the insulin vial, the cremate, like, well, she was so smart these are stupid mistakes. Because they're stupid mistakes and she's so smart, she wouldn't do them. I think we really don't, I don't think we really fully understand like Natalie's mind and how it works. And like, so I think to just say that like she was so smart and she couldn't do stupid things, we don't know what she was actually thinking, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'd say there's a bunch of things going on, and she definitely had the narcissism to think that she knew better than everyone else.
Mhm.
I think we got to address this next one because there is this like QAnon conspiracy rabbit hole thing. Not exactly QAnon, but
that's a rabbit hole. Like this is a whole thing.
Yeah. There's been a few people bring up the tragedy with Chris Klein and the doctor's home that exploded in NC. I'll go ahead and say that there is no evidence that ever was a thing, other than all these people dying that were kind of that new Natalie.
It's all speculation.
It's all speculation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never going to be anything. It's not even worth thinking about. And all these people, you know, I don't want to tarnish anyone's name that has died that have most likely no affiliation with this psychopathic murderer.
I think honestly though, Natalie's case was so interesting that like it was crazy what she did, her scheme, that you're like, I mean, this other thing seems plausible too. Like it's just, you know, I think you're just grasping at straws.
Well, yeah. Well, and that's how, like the broken arm thing. I didn't know that till we just done this podcast. Like, I have no clue what that is. I almost don't even want to look at it. I'm so overwhelmed with all this crap, the true crap, that like, you know, I see what you mean. Like, yeah, of course that happened, but no. It had no affiliation with the doctor or Chris Klein, and hearts go out to their families. And it'll never be a thing. But you know, I'm glad people question, but let's kind of put that one to rest there. How much money was never accounted for? Wonder where she had it stashed. I figure she thought she'd get off and then go on live her best life spending it. So it's a good question, but basically she was broke.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knew it was proven she was broke. She had $46,000. She's not, you know, she doesn't have it. She didn't buy crypto. There's no kind of like random thing other than she lived beyond her means.
Yeah. Well, neither her or her husband were working. Their lifestyle was completely funded by the money that she got from the Ponzi scheme. So like,
and you heard all that crap that was confiscated. So she lived above her means, and they went to vacations to Paris and Hawaii, and that stuff is like, you know, a Kia Soul level of money for each one. But yeah, I don't think, I mean, $3 million sounds a lot to us West Virginians, and it is a lot of money, but like in the grand scheme of things, you could blow $3 million.
Yeah. Well, she was also getting loans too. Like that was funding a lot of her, you know, their lifestyle as well.
But she also paid investors. There is a set of investors that got a good chunk of money.
Well, I think Stephanie got some money too. I think maybe a couple, I don't know. Like there were some payments, like very small.
Yeah.
But like that's how a Ponzi scheme works. You funnel money from one investor and give it to another one to prove that your business is profitable when it's just shuffling money around.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I mean, they were trying to buy lake houses and all kinds of like, it would have been very easy to blow it all.
Airplane hangar. Yeah.
Yeah. And she did give, I think a couple investors got a pretty fat chunk back. So why did Treadway's wife not show up for the mercy plea? Short answer, we don't know. She did show up for the federal crime, didn't show up for the mercy plea. Yep. You know, who knows? Heard maybe there was a job commitment. Did you hear in the crowd or some kind of a thing like that? Or
I don't know. I mean, the thing is like, was it the mercy or the actual?
It was mercy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the mercy phase was optional. She didn't have to be there. No one was to be.
And, you know, maybe she was like, you know what? She's a convicted murderer. I'm not doing this, which is understandable too. But nobody knows. So there will probably never be an answer to that question. It says, and we're going to answer all these best for our Billy. Why was Treadway's wife, who helped Natalie with the baseball money, never brought into it? The Treadways were thick as thieves with Natalie, pun intended. Can't believe nothing was ever connected there. So we got to put that to bed too. There was no evidentiary value to charge the Treadways. It was told to us the investigators looked. The only thing we do know is that I think that what's her name? Is it starts with an L? Lacey?
Mm-hmm. Lacey
Treadway? Is that her name?
I think so.
We need to look that up while I'm talking. But anyway, she was a notarizer on some of the sports stuff, but that's really it. Now, it was brought up later in here about Treadway being a graphic designer and Natalie having fake designs.
Lacey Treadway.
Yeah, Lacey. Yeah. But nothing was ever proven that Thomas ever did them. I mean, the investigators looked and they searched and they didn't find anything. So, you have to just, they're not involved with it. That's legally what it is. We can have our theories and do all we want, but that's the basic truth of it. So, of course it's questionable to have, but here's the thing, notarizing for Natalie would be like Natalie saying, hey, would you notarize for this for me, girl, please?
Right.
Like, I'm sure no one was showed accounts. No one, I have to guess that no one knew that she was stealing money from kids, which she was. There's proof that she was making purchases from the baseball league on things that shouldn't have been there, but that was never pursued. Did Michael have life insurance policy or did Natalie think he had one? So the only thing we do know for a fact is Michael, his life insurance lapsed a year before.
Mm-hmm.
So he did not have an active life insurance policy when he was murdered. It says, I'd like to know why it was never brought up that she said, I got us medicine or something similar in text to Michael Brandon after leaving Access Health that day. That easily suggests why he would allow her to potentially medicate him. So I'm not sure about the exacts there. I don't remember that text
I think
message.
she said it to Jennifer. Or
yeah,
it was stated that, the medication that she had was for both of them. But again, like
the only text messages we have of Michael from that day was to Chris Davis, which my theory is that it was Natalie, because we prove in another video in the Chris Davis interview that Natalie was for a fact using Mike's phone that day. So I'm not sure about that text. I don't think it was a thing that day, but I think you may be referring to her telling Jennifer that the steroid shots, raised her sugar and that, she went and got a steroid shot and that Michael was sick too to her.
Yeah. Well, she told people that like she gave Michael blood pressure meds. Like,
yeah.
I mean, she gave him something.
Yeah. She told him, she told people she gave him meds.
Yeah.
And she did that for a reason. Now, what exactly that was, we gave you pretty firm circumstantial theories on what that stuff was, but take that for what it's worth. So it says the children testified to seeing Michael Brandon taking the large quantity of supplements. These were on a large tray plate in the cabinet they couldn't reach. There was no evidence of any during the raid, and nothing was identified in the testimony. Or did I miss something? No, you didn't miss anything. There was nothing ever proven ever that he ever took any steroid ever.
Mm-hmm. Or supplements.
Yeah.
Again, in a hearing before the trial, Bledsoe testified that Natalie told her she threw away all his supplements.
Yeah.
So that's why they didn't find him.
Yeah. Now, that's not deterring the kids' experience, if that's if that's their truth.
Well, I think even Chris said, he took supplements.
I mean, yeah,
from
I
GNC.
I take a pile of vitamins. So
I mean, that's not really.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is what about the graphic designer? I think his last name is Thompson, but not sure. It's Thomas Treadway. But wasn't he the one that designed the fake stationery? That was never proven. Mm-hmm. They looked into it. He was never charged, never proven. They had evidence of that. So we'll just leave that at that. Let's see. I would like to know status of her current appeal. She had final 30 days to file a new one and get a new attorney. I thought that is correct. Jozy's going to try and look that up. We haven't heard. I'm just assuming, like, we know she's going to appeal, but maybe she saw the light, y'all. Maybe she's like, you know what? I did it. I'm gonna chat with the dandelions and write my prison vlog and get right with the Lord. That's what I suggest she do. That'd be a good thing for her to do. And then give us an honest account of what exactly happened. That would be great. Then all this mountains of circumstantial evidence. But yeah, as far as we knew, about the new attorney, she did get a new attorney, and it's a state-provided attorney that specializes in appeals court. Victor and Selden and their investigator are no longer on the case. So to confirm that, but we will, of course, we'll do updates there, and I'll make a little post when the appeals hopefully get denied, and we'll move on from there and talk about Mothman and Flatwoods Monster and all kinds of good stuff. No luck?
No, it's on here. I'm just finding it. 23. For anyone who wants to find themselves, WestVirginiaPass.com. I think you can look up court cases from West Virginia court system.
Oh, sweet. So there's the appeal case in there, maybe?
It should be. Let me see. It should have been in the docket entries. I think they have to file. There's so many entries. Let's see. 5-7 is the last one.
The suspense is building.
They literally make you pay for.
You want my card?
No.
Okay. Well, while you're talking about that, let me tell y'all about Creepalachia Haunted and Urbex. That is where me and Adra Johnson go out in the field and we scout locations actively across Appalachia. We have released our first episode, which is about the Weeping Woman in Parkersburg, West Virginia. So let me show you a little tidbit here. But yeah, definitely check that out if you haven't already. It is not on Apple or Spotify. It is only a YouTube exclusive, but it's a lot of fun. Make a lot of awkward jokes in the cemetery, and Adra tells a lot of stories. Adra Johnson has years of experience with haunted Parkersburg, and she does the tours at the Blenner Hassett. So I highly suggest you go there. Did you find it?
So it says that on March 14th that exhibit sheets on a U.S. thumb drive were requested by the Public Defender Services Appellate Advocacy Division in Charleston. So they have her case. I don't know if it would actually be. So I'm looking at this on the. This is her case that's with the Raleigh County Circuit Court. I don't know if their appeal would show up on this or if it would show up on the state system. Honestly, I don't see her not appealing.
Right.
What else is she going to do?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't have definitive documents. But at this point, what does it matter?
She may have found the Lord, Jozy.
I don't know.
The Lord likes people that tell the truth. So thou shalt not kill. That's a big one. So you got to get working your way back up in the good graces. And it's possible people do it all the time. So,
yeah,
it is what it is. But I think, this will probably be it for a while, y'all. I've thought hard about pursuing people on the defensive side and all kinds of different things. And I'm just not going to do it. I don't, especially until after the appeal process is over. I do not think it would prove well to get someone up here and tar and feather them, or have I wouldn't attack them, but there's blatant facts with this case that you cannot avoid. And, I do suggest that they make their own videos and get on here, show that evidence. Let's tell the truth and figure out where to go from here, because we have a bomb of devastation that's hit southern West Virginia, and Natalie Cochran is a thief and a liar and a murderer, and it is what it is. Jozy, I think we've done it.
I think we've done it.
Yeah. So thank you, Jozy. You got anything? Are you still writing? What's going on?
You know, life is a funny thing. It's been, I'm still following up on a lot of the school stuff. I have a other actual day job now that's not reporting full time. So I'm trying to find a balance there. I bought a house. Worst time to buy a house and renovate a house. So I think I'm telling people that I'm just surviving, not thriving, so
that's right.
That's where I'm at.
Heck yeah. And she got an awesome career, super beneficial to what she's doing for the state right now. But also, I'll go ahead and announce, I'm going to put you on the spot. Jozy will be back in June. We are recording the Sauter family episode. We are going to have a grandchild of one of the brothers come in here, and she has more receipts than probably have ever been released with this case. We have proven 23andMe genealogy where it shows her being related to this family, and I couldn't be more excited than to have Miranda in, and Jozy's going to join us. Jozy's going to use her hyper journalistic skills to look at the documents that we've been given and the bullet points, and we're going to try and give you all a full extensive telling of the Sauter children disappearance that has ever been on record. That's the goal. Now, will it work? I don't know, but we'll have a good time doing it. But I'll see you then, Jozy. But everyone else, be sure to like this video, subscribe to Creepalachia on YouTube if you haven't already, and if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, be sure to take a minute and leave a review. Those reviews really help the show be found, and I'm so grateful that Facebook has passed 40,000 followers now, and we've got 28,000 on TikTok. We're growing on YouTube. We're about to approach 4,000. I think we can make this a thing, y'all, and I couldn't do it without you. So thank you for being here, and everyone else, always remember, above all else, long live Appalachia.